welcome back to the channel. This video is all about why you can take this thing off-road behind your Ford Bronco. You had questions, I have answers. Buckle up, Buttercup! If you guys have been following along on the journey, you know that I towed this thing all the way from Florida to Utah, back to Florida, up to Washington, D.C., up to Maryland, back to Florida, and then all over Florida. So it has a lot of miles on it. But I've had a couple questions. And what are one of those questions, Jimmy?
Man, how easy is it to actually off-road with a gigantic camper behind you?
And I'm not talking about, yeah, we're climbing over rocks and stuff. I mean, driving it off-road, gravel road, maybe a little bit rough terrain. This is not an overland trailer that you're used to. This is a home on wheels.
But we brought our handy dandy tape measure.
Yes, because we want to show you the clearance of the bottom of this, I almost called it a Bronco, of this camper, and then show you the tire setup that's on there. And there are options where you can get even better off-roadish tires to make the drive of this a little bit better.
Yeah, but I would tell you, I mean, this thing is done just fine.
Yeah.
A lot of what we do is actually tow it, not off-road like KRISTA was saying with rocks and all that, but we go, I mean, physically off-road where it's dirt, where there is gravel, where there's
and
a lot of stuff.
And a little bit of like bumps and like dips and stuff. And it's done great. You know, I mean, it might get a little shaky inside, but
that's part of the fun.
All part of the fun. So let's get out the tape measure and we're going to show you the clearance and just kind of walk around on the bottom of this to show you how much room you actually have underneath this camper.
You got it.
All right, Jimmy, I'm going to make you do the dirty work because I'm pretty sure there's anthills around here.
Oh gosh. Are these those fire ants you keep telling me about?
Yeah. Have you been bitten or stung by one of them yet?
I don't think so, because I keep hearing that I'm going to know if I've been bit by one.
Yeah,
which,
it's not
yet.
that I want you to, but I don't want to get underneath there, so be careful.
Okay, it's one of those life experiences, huh?
Yes.
Okay, well, for starters, let's just take a look at our basic ground clearance from the chassis. So although we're not actually hooked up to the Bronco at the moment, we've got this thing pretty leveled out to where it would sit once we actually tow it. So just a typical reading from the side, we are at 26 to 27 inches from our actual frame rail here, which is plenty of ground clearance, which I know we have a lot of other things underneath the camper here, including like some of the dumps and our leveling jacks and things like that. So we're not gonna have 26 inches of clear ground clearance, but when we're going over bumps and things like that, we do get plenty of clearance, especially since we're not going to be going over boulders that are, 2 foot high. Obviously, the lowest point of our vehicle is going to be the axle. Now, once again, it is a solid axle, but we don't have like a pumpkin in the center, which kind of like, where a differential would be housed in there like a standard vehicle. So we do get an inch or two better clearance there. But like KRISTA said, we're going to try to deal with our fire ants now, and I'm going to get under there and hopefully I live. We're looking at just about 12.5 inches of ground clearance from the bottom of our axle, which I'll tell you what, I mean, unless you're driving over some pretty gigantic boulders, I feel like that's plenty of clearance for being the low spot of the vehicle.
Hey, I got an idea, Jimmy.
What's that?
Let's measure the Bronco.
Okay, let's do it.
Here is Buttercup 2.0's debut.
Oh yeah.
In at least a camper video. But as you can see, she is stock. This is a stock Badlands non-Sasquatch. So we're gonna measure to show you the comparison of this to the camper. I think you're gonna be surprised.
Oh yeah. So like KRISTA said, we're gonna measure our ground clearance for our stock Bronco, which I do believe is gonna actually have less ground clearance than the trailer. So what that means is whatever we hit with the Bronco, we know we are or we aren't gonna clear with the trailer. So let's check it out. We're at about 9.5. Yeah, 9.5, 9 3/8 inch ground clearance from the bottom of our pumpkin here. So we will definitely hit something with this long before we hit something with the trailer. So this acts as kind of like a feeler gauge for if we're gonna make any kind of contact with the trailer. Another thing I want to talk about is the tire. This is a little bit of a meatier tire. It is a 235/75, so we've got plenty of sidewall, not to mention a little bit more of an aggressive stance for when it comes to dirt, gravel, rocks for the tread.
I hope that information is the information you guys were looking for. I've actually had tons of emails about people asking about the ground clearance of this camper and how they think it's going to be compatible with the Bronco. Now, unfortunately, I never measured official OG Buttercup. She did have a lift, but this one I'm going to have a lift and body lift and things like that. So we will definitely remeasure as time goes on. But however, the camper is tall enough and is at this point taller than a stock Bronco.
I think you're in pretty good shape. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we would still have to put a 3-inch lift on the Bronco to pretty much equal our live axle that's actually on the camper. So I think we're in pretty good shape as far as ground clearance. And I'll tell you what, I'm pretty glad that I got out today without a bunch of ants. So
Yeah,
I'm
hey, you
psyched about that.
survived. High five. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, buckle up, Buttercup.